All right, ladies, gentlemen, gamers, and everyone else. Welcome back. We're here for another discussion. So, this was just another random thought I kind of had. It was the thought about exposure and how important exposure is. So, what do I mean by this? I think this can be related not only to life but also to video games, and I'll give some examples about it. But in general, I think there's such a thing called the butterfly effect, right? I forgot what his name was specifically. It just goes to show you I'm not really plugged into the scene too well. Um, but there was a famous rapper who just died. I think his name was PNB Rock. Yeah, PNB Rock was his name. He recently passed away, right? And he passed away because he was murdered because people were robbing him and he didn't want to get robbed, which is fair, right? I don't think it's fair that they killed him. I think it's fair he didn't want to get fucking robbed. So even though some people would make the argument, he's rich, he can just afford to give away his jewelry they were trying to rob and live another day. But I think that's giving in to the people. Obviously, there's arguments on both sides. This isn't what the video is about. However, it's the butterfly effect, and that his flight was delayed, and because his flight was delayed, he decided to go eat because he was obviously hungry. Because Lord knows, waiting at the airport for a flight takes forever, and you're not allowed to bring food and stuff with you. You have to buy the fucking expensive ass airport food because that's how they want to make money because they're fucking greedy assholes. Regardless, though, what ended up happening was sort of a butterfly effect where if the plane did not get delayed, all of the following events would not have happened. He would not have gotten hungry, or if he got hungry, he probably would eventually. He's human, I hope. He would have gotten hungry, and he would have been on the plane, so he couldn't go to this chicken spot. Or maybe, if it happened later on at a different time, these people wouldn't have seen the post that his girlfriend made, went to the fucking place that they went to eat, and killed him. So many things could have happened differently, but because of this one event, certain things happened this way, and he ended up tragically passing away. Now, that's kind of a little off topic, but it's related to the topic here of exposure, right? Exposure in life, I think, is so important. It has to do, like, specifically with all walks of life, lower, middle, and upper class. I think the thing I've been noticing is the lower class is not exposed to much, right? I sort of take my own situation into account here to try and base my experiences off of. Growing up, I would definitely consider myself lower class to middle class. At this point, I'm probably middle lower class. I'm not lower class anymore. We're not poor, right? Back when I was growing up, we were definitely fucking poor. I used to live in a basement that was illegal at one point or another. And, the way we heated up our house was by opening the oven and having some of the heat waft into the house because the fucking heater was broken. But regardless, when you're poor, you do not get exposed to much stuff. When you're rich, you are exposed to many things because money gives you the means to be exposed. And generally, if you're rich, you probably know more people, are socially connected better than a poor person is. Or even if you're poor and you're exposed, or you're connected to people, it's the type of people you're connected to. But at that point, you could say you have exposure. So where does this relate to games, though? I think overall exposure in general is really, really important because just knowing people opens doors. You never know what knowing someone could do, or if you're working a job, what could happen. There's always a degree of luck, but a degree of randomness. But without being exposed to it, you'd never know, right? Let's just say my dad was never into video games, or I never made friends with certain friends in high school, or sorry, not even high school, middle school, even high school too. If I never made friends with some people in high school, I probably would not be playing League today. League today is my most played game. I play League the fucking most. But regardless, that's just another example of the butterfly effect. Going back to exposure in games, right? I think this is a big issue with games, and I've mentioned it in another video that I've made about just how games have changed in terms of culture and just in terms of socially. Socially they become more acceptable, but culturally they become more about making more money. Now, I think one way to kind of fix this, maybe I should have included it in that video, but I think it can be its own video here, is by having people be exposed. I think nowadays, the people who make games not only are disconnected, just like the rich from society, they're disconnected from what makes a good game. They're just so focused on making money. You can make money if you make the game good. Now, I'll bring up the example of what happened with Final Fantasy XIV with Yoshi P. Yoshi P came onto Final Fantasy XIV as it was a burning dumpster fire. The game was fucking dying, it was horrible, it was dead. And for a game in the Final Fantasy franchise, especially because it's from Japan, they probably thought like, what the fuck happened? This is a very respected franchise, we cannot have this. Hire someone new. Fire whoever the fuck is in charge of this dumpster fire, it made it a mess. Get someone new, and they got Yoshi P. What did Yoshi P do to fix the game? He was actually a fucking gamer. What does that mean? He was exposed to good games. And believe it or not, what he did was he made the people who were under him, who work on the game, he made them play World of Warcraft. He exposed them to something that was better, that was objectively better, that was the king of its fucking craft, that was at the top of the totem pole. He said, play this game, figure out why it's so good, figure out how we can relate it to our game and make it better. I mean, that's generally what happens in society. I don't know why there's the stigma of, be creative, make something completely new. A lot of what successful businesses do is they copy fucking other people. They copy other people and they make it their own. Yes, there's an element of creativity, but a lot of times people just copy each other and then try and make it better. At least that's what happens in the business world a lot. Just look at fucking Apple. Regardless though, he exposed them to it, and because he exposed them to it, now Final Fantasy, I don't know if it overtook WoW, but it's a direct competitor, and a lot of people say it's better. And in many ways it probably is, because WoW's a huge dumpster fire now. But in general, right, it's this idea of exposure. Do not discount exposure. Exposure leads you to different things. Unfortunately, in today's society, this is where it might get a little political, and, I apologize if I offend anyone. In today's society, the worst part is, even with exposure, because of things that don't matter, like skin color, things get taken into account that don't matter, that kind of, even if you have the exposure, your opinion is discredited, right? The exposure doesn't matter as much. It now relies somewhat, or even for some people almost entirely, on arbitrary information or facts, or just things in general that don't have relevance to anything. Right? This is kind of getting off topic, but again, some people will discredit some other people just because, even if they've been exposed to something, just because of a fact like skin color, right? If you're this certain skin color, even if you went through the same things I did, because you have a different skin color, you're either wrong, you don't understand, or it's different for you. While I do think skin color and everything has an effect, butterfly effect yet again. I think everything has an effect. Some effects are literally just there because people make it so they're there. Some people create effects that don't need to be there. I'm not going to get too far into it though. So we're just going to leave it at that. I think exposure is very important, specifically in games, to make games better. The people who make games need to actually be exposed to games and not just thinking about, money, money, money. Let's squeeze money out of the people with the battle pass that kind of sucks and the game isn't even finished. No. Expose yourself to good games. Just expose yourself to more of society in general. It kind of sounds like I should follow my own advice, but we're not talking about me here. We're just talking about the idea. I got my own issues and my own demons. But, yeah, exposure is really important. And I kind of just thought about it recently and thought I could relate it to games. But that's basically the whole idea. I hope you guys enjoyed. If there's anything else you want me to talk about critically or go over, put it in the comments. Tell me if you agreed, disagreed. I also stream at twitch.tv/Tecnics channel if you want to see me there. I stream pretty much daily. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed.